Hundreds of ordinary people pilot their own boat to save neighbors and strangers alike. They're trying to save each other from Hurricane Katrina. They glide through flying cockroaches, mosquitoes, gnats, swarming in billions, and over knots of poisonous snakes that are in the water. See them all? It's just terrible. About a mile from the Superdome, a crowd gathers at the Morrill Convention Center. The complex of large meeting rooms and walls is closed. It is not shelter. It has no food, water, or beds, no fuel, nothing for emergency generator, and it's all ran out of power. But the people, they decide that being inside is better than staying abandoned and on the sidewalk, and they break in. Shops and businesses are looted sometimes by people in need of food and supplies and other things the thieves are taking to take advantage of the streets without police protection. The mayhem encourages more than a few police officers to join the looting. They rob stores of computers and TVs and steal luxury Cadillacs and SUVs. The police are even doing this. He's got an HD TV there. Some of the owners are sitting outside. It says, "You loot, I shoot." Some gun-toting business owners arrive to protect their shops and their offices. "We need your help. We need everything you've got," Governor Kathleen Blanco was saying to President Bush. The president reassures her that the nation says, "We've got equipment in place, supplies in place, and we'll be able to move in and help those people in affected areas." Night swallows New Orleans without electricity, lights, or air conditioning. People hiding in the Superdome, huddling in the convention centers, trapped on roofs, melt in the stifling weather. 80% of New Orleans, an area 7 times larger than Manhattan, is underwater. The dark is filled with croaking of thousands of frogs. Ooh, big frogs. Look at that. It's terrible. Tuesday, August 30th. Water still washes into the city. Some of the levee breaches have grown. There is still 500 foot of broken mass in the middle of the street. Wires and cables are hanging low over the street lines, strings of popcorn on Christmas trees. That's very dangerous. That's electric. That can shock you and kill you. At first, the water was green and fresh. Golden carp swam in the streets. Now the water has grown stagnant and black. Rarely working communications leave rescuers unable to reach their bosses and fellow workers. We are completely on our own. So sad. Across the city, people await rescues. That you? Someone else too stupid to get out of town? People are on the rooftops. Mice and rodents. People on top of their houses. They can't go anywhere. Michael Brown chief of Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, alerts his boss, Michael Chertoff, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and President Bush of the problems, explaining this was the big one. In fact, Katrina was weaker than the feared big one. Still, it wrecked New Orleans. It wrecked it. Wastewater surround the Superdome, which is so swollen with 20,000 people. Governor Blanco visits the stadium and is told that there is only enough food and water for another 24 hours. She asked Brown for buses to evacuate the arena. At city hospitals, doctors and nurses and volunteers care for patients that are so ill they have to be evacuated from the storm. Life-saving devices are shut down from the lack of electricity. Emergency generators are ruined by water or run out of fuel. Electric pumps needed to push air into the sick people's lungs are hand-operated and sometimes by children. The sewers, they were all backed up, and we are down there in that stifling heat, and the odor was horrendous. We are just in there smothering. A hospital worker tries calling FEMA for help, but gets a big busy signal and a voicemail. Sick people who might have lived have now died. That's so sad, a child trying to help. People rescued from the water, from the buildings and the homes, are dropped off at remote bits of high ground, partly flooded highways, ramps, and act as piers. All manner of saved people arrive, young, old, healthy, and sick. They're alert and stunned. They don't know where to go, and there's no one to help them. I don't think they have a clue what they're going to do for us. Many will spend nights sleeping on the concrete. We've got no food. We can't even find water to sip on. I don't know where my baby is. One minute we were all together, and the next minute she was gone. About 5,000 children are reported missing. Weeks will be passed before they will be reunited. 5,000 children missing. People need food, water, medicine, and a way out of New Orleans. White House, Washington, D.C. The president's aides complain that gloomy TV news reports contradict information that they are receiving news about New Orleans. We are constantly getting reports saying one thing and seeing something quite contrary on TV. The news can't get it with the government. Wednesday, August 31st, Lake Pontchartrain and city's floodwater reached the same height. The storm surges, tapers away, making the level of the lake fall. In turn, the water in the city starts trickling out 1 inch per hour. Governor Blanco asked President Bush for 40,000 troops. There is no immediate response. New arrivals at the Superdome discover that it is locked up and not accepting any more people. FEMA promises the arrival of 500 buses and at 7 a.m. evacuation of the stadium. Meanwhile, 3,000 victims wait at the convention center. 3,000 people wait for help that is not coming. Rescue helicopters and boats come from all over to help. They crisscross the New Orleans and go about their heroic work with no cooperation and no connection to each other. They have nothing, no power, no electricity, nothing. Rescuers report guns fired at them. Is it sniping? Is it random shooting? Or signals for rescue? They take precaution. Rescue slow down. A helicopter searches and fails to find businesses and promise for a Superdome evacuation. This is overwhelming. People are starving. While heading back to the White House from Texas vacation, President Bush flies low over New Orleans and the Gulf Coast to glimpse the havoc. He wanted to see it for himself in the plane. What a sight to see. Other states are taking Katrina's homeless. Within days, they had provided 220,000 places for the Katrina evacuees. Arkansas takes 70,000 and more find care around the country. Back in New Orleans, disaster relief stumbles. Federal, state, and city officials can't decide how to share responsibility. A Navy hospital ship is ignored. FEMA doesn't know if ordered supplies actually arrive. Good Samaritans with boats are chased away. Meanwhile, a desperate survivor breaks into a store to find something to quench his terrible thirst. I've never stole anything in my whole life. On Thursday, September 1st, rumors sweep the city. Hundreds dead in the Superdome, gang assaults on children, sharks and alligators swimming down the levees, dynamited to drive out poor residents. Mayor Nagin claims that there are 10,000 dead in New Orleans and that hundreds of armed gang members are terrorizing survivors. None of the rumors is true, but people won't learn differently for weeks. More than 15,000 people crowd into the convention center. Mayor Magnum has never been seen there. The smell was real bad from the bodies and from the urine and the bowel movements. It was all over the floor. When asked about the convention center, Michael Chertoff, leader of the Department of Homeland Security, says, I have not heard a report of thousands of people in the convention center who don't have food and water. We are out here like pure animals. Help us! The 25,000 people in the Superdome choke on hot, humid, foul air. Tempers grow short. Nagin should come speak to these people. About 7,000 people at a highway overpass wait for help to get dust, trash, and corpses off the streets. I don't want to be out here no more, says the little boy. Some people try walking out of New Orleans. They cross a bridge toward the suburb of Gretna. But they are stopped by the local police. We're not going to have any Superdomes over here.